Our first guest runs two mutual fund of funds. He uses hedge fund strategies, put in mutual fund structures, wrappers if you like. He is here in New York City to accept an award on one of the 2012 Rising Stars of Mutual Funds. So we welcome him with a congratulations attached. That is, Brad Alford from Alpha Capital Management is here. So Brad, congratulations.
Thank you,
first
Deirdre.
and foremost.
Thank you.
Going to have a nice evening. So you started something new with Alpha Capital, essentially putting hedge fund strategies into mutual fund wrappers, for lack of a better term. How high a bar did you think it was to beat the hedge fund industry at their own game?
People have put hedge funds on a very, very high pedestal. And so I guess maybe they pay so much for the hedge funds and the talent's there. And there really are some talented people in the hedge fund world. But the talent in the mutual fund world is just as good. And the bar is high, but we've been able to go above that in our performance. Why
do you think that the hedge fund sector, if I can call it that, as a group, has underperformed so many expectations?
That's really a million-dollar question. People are trying to figure out the answer to that, whether they cannot leverage as much after '08 with people like Bear Stearns and Lehman being gone, and also is there a talent drain? There's over 10,000, way too many. When I was at the Duke Endowment 15 years ago, there was 100 really great ones, and now there's over 10,000. So there's just been a real loss of talent.
Now, what about what you're doing? You have two main funds, right? We have the opportunistic one and the defense one.
Exactly.
How have they performed?
The defensive has done quite well, obviously, with its name. It launched. We've been running it for over 3 years in separate accounts, but in a mutual fund structure, it's just a little over a year. So it's in the top decile of all the alternative mutual funds that Morningstar tracks. And the opportunistic is a long-short fund, and it's done well. It got hurt, has some non-U.S. exposure and equity exposure last year. So defensive has held up much better.
As a fund-of-funds strategy in these mutual funds, do you feel like you have the advantage of liquidity and you have flexibility so that if something is not working out, you can pivot quickly?
Yeah, that's the greatest thing about it. In the LP hedge fund land, you may have a one-year lockup with quarterly liquidity, a 60-day notice. So the mutual fund, as we say, a change is a mouse click away. And so we can change on a daily basis. We don't do that. We've got very talented managers. Both the mutual funds have 10 to 12 managers in them. And so even though we can change quickly, we don't.
You have some pretty well-known names in the business. I'm just thinking Jeff Gundlach is just one that I know.
Exactly. And so we've got most of the managers have 5 to 10 years of experience. PIMCO is one of the managers we use in their short-only strategy. We use Don Yackman, famous name, been around the industry for 30 or 40 years. So yes, there's great talent there.
Warren Buffett made a friendly bet about 4 years ago saying that hedge funds and their clients are not going to beat the stock market over a decade. Now, 4 years since he made that comment, he's been proven right. I assume you think he's going to be right 6 more years in.
Hard to bet against Warren Buffett. Obviously, he's a hero of mine. How can he not be? It's interesting. He started the bet at the end of 2007. So 2008, he took a quick down 37 just to get into a pretty big, deep hole, and he's already gotten out of it this quickly. So I think just the fees, he's betting against a hedge fund of funds where there's so many layers of fees that I think he will definitely win the bet. And I don't have the $1 million to put on it, but I'm definitely in his camp that he'll win.
Brad, one macro idea before we let you go. What is the one thing that you have seen in this investing environment this year that has surprised you?
It's interesting. I've seen this big push for yield, and so people buying MLPs and high dividend stocks, and they aren't performing as well again this year. So we're only 1 quarter into it. So once again, the group thinking is not working, and so that has been a surprise that even though people are clamoring for yield, that play is not working so far.
Brad, we thank you. Congratulations again on your award. Brad Alford joining us here.